The invitations are spread across the kitchen counter, and you are going down the guest list for the party. You get to one name. Your pen stops. You already know how this goes. You skip it. You tell yourself it's easier this way. No scene, no cold shoulder across the room, no old business dragged into a good evening. Just one name quietly left off. Nobody has to know. There is a name like that for almost everyone. Say it out loud and something in your chest tightens before you even finish the second syllable. A sibling, an old friend, someone who used to matter. Maybe it's the message you never answered. It sat in your phone for a while, then a longer while, and eventually answering it would have meant explaining the silence. So you let it go gray and stale. Don't call it a grudge. That word sounds too big, too bitter, like something a smaller person would carry. We call it distance. We call it just how things are between us now. But you and I both know what it is. It's a small stone you've been carrying so long you forgot it was in your pocket. And for years I figured that was just the price of being wronged. Something you carry to the end. It isn't. There's a way to set it down. Name you skip over. Have you ever stopped to count how old the wound actually is? Not the last time it flared up. Very first day it happened. You might be surprised. For a lot of us, it goes back further than we admit. A slight at a wedding 15 years gone. A thing a sibling said before your kids were born. A betrayal so old the people in it had different hair. And here is the strange part. Somewhere along the way, you stopped deciding to hold it. It just became part of the house, like a chair you walk around without seeing anymore. There is almost something funny in it. You forget where half your childhood memories went, but that one afternoon, that one sentence, you could recite word for word right now. The mind keeps odd trophies. But furniture you never sit in still takes up the room, and a grudge you have carried since before your parents got old is not a feeling anymore. It is a fixture. You have built your life around it without once asking why it is still there. Furniture you never move, you stop seeing. But there is one thing you do keep touching. The story. The story of what they did to you. Told and retold until it shines like something you polished on purpose. You know the version I mean. The one you have run so many times it has no rough edges left. What they said. Where you were standing. The exact tone in their voice. You could tell it in your sleep, and some nights you do. And here is the quiet trick of it. Every time you tell that story, it gets a little smoother and a little more one-sided. Your part shrinks. Their part grows. The rough thing you might have said gets edited clean out. It is not lying. You are not a liar. It is just what telling does to a story. Repeat anything enough, and it hardens into scripture. Unquestionable. The one account no one is allowed to edit, least of all you. There is even something warm in it, I will admit. Story is a companion. It knows exactly how you feel. It never argues, never complicates you, never asks the awkward question. It just agrees with you, every single time. But a story that only ever agrees with you has stopped being a memory. It has become a wall you built to stand behind. And the longer you stand there, the harder it gets to remember there was ever another side. Here is the strange thing about that polished story you keep so word perfect. You have rehearsed it for an audience of one. The other person, they may not remember the scene at all. That is the part that stings once you see it. The thing that reshaped your whole life may have been, to them, an ordinary afternoon they forgot by dinner. You have been in a fight the other side left years ago. Sometimes it is gentler than that. They moved 3 states away, remarried, got soft and gray, and would greet you at a reunion with a warm hello, and no idea there was ever anything to mend. And sometimes it is not gentle at all. Sometimes you go to say their name with the old bitterness, and someone tells you quietly that they passed last spring. The grudge outlived the person. So who is still guarding the wound? Only you. You tend it. You keep it fed. You wake it up when their name floats past. The debt is real to exactly one person, and it is the one who never owed it. There is an odd mercy hiding in that. If the grudge lives only in you, then the door out is yours too. Nobody has to walk back into the room and agree with you. You were always the only one holding it. So the grudge lives only in you now, and here is the part nobody warns you about. A thing that lives in you does not live for free. It charges rent, quietly, every single day. You feel it before you understand it. Someone at dinner says their name, casual, no warning, and your jaw tightens on its own. Your shoulders climb. A whole afternoon dims over a name you did not choose to hear. And it is not free time, that dimming. It is energy. The same energy you wish you had for the people right in front of you gets siphoned off, sent backward, spent guarding a wound nobody else can even see. Then there is the reunion you skip, the invitation you leave on the counter because you know who will be there. You tell yourself it is not a big deal, but you missed the whole night to avoid one person in it. And funny thing, the one you were avoiding barely noticed you were gone, but your old friend from the neighborhood did. She wondered why you never come anymore. The grudge cost you her, and you never sent the bill to the person who earned it. That is the sneaky tax. It never stays contained to one person. It leaks. It colors the cousin who stayed friendly with them. The gathering you host smaller each year. A whole map of your life, quietly redrawn, around one closed door. You added it all up once, didn't you? The nights, the tightness, the people caught in the middle, and you realized the person who wronged you paid nothing. You have been footing the whole bill yourself this entire time. The stranger you never call again, that's an easy grudge to carry. It costs you almost nothing. But some of the people you resent share your last name, and that changes the whole arithmetic. There's the brother you haven't really spoken to since your mother's funeral, over something said in the kitchen that day. 10 years now. Two men who used to build forts together, sending each other nothing. And here is the strange mercy of it. Half the time you can barely remember whose fault it started. You just know the silence is his fault. You're sure of that, even when the details have gone soft. The hardest one is a parent. The father who never said he was proud. The mother whose approval you're still auditioning for at 50. You want to let it go, and then the phone rings and you're 8 years old again. Or runs the other way. It's your own grown kid holding the grudge, and you're the one waiting by a quiet phone. Now you know exactly how your father felt, and it's too late to tell him. Here's what nobody tells you. A stranger you can replace. A family member you cannot. There is one father, one sister. And the clock on them is not a metaphor, it's a real number of birthdays left. And it's smaller than you think. So why do you keep it? A grudge that costs you this much, especially with family you cannot replace, you would set it down in a second if it gave you nothing back. But it does give you something. That is the part nobody admits. The first thing it hands you is the sweetest and the most dangerous. Being right. In your version, and it is always your version, you did nothing wrong. They crossed the line. You stood where you should have stood. And who wants to give up being right? Underneath being right sits something warmer, being the wronged one, the injured party. There is a strange comfort in it. It explains things. Why the distance, why the ache, why you are the way you are. You get to be the one it was done to. And here is the trap. That identity feels like the truth about you, but it is really just the oldest coat you own. You have worn it so long it fits perfectly. Take it off and for a minute, you would feel a little bare. So letting go was never really about them. It is about surrendering the high ground you have been standing on for years. And that ground is comfortable. Up there, you never have to ask the harder question, whether you played any part at all. I am not scolding you for wanting the comfort. Of course you want it. But be honest about the price of the ticket. To keep being right, being wronged, standing tall up there, you agreed to keep carrying the whole weight. That is the deal you never signed but keep paying. You would only set the grudge down if letting go didn't cost you all of that. And here is where most of us get stuck, because we think forgiveness means handing the other person a gift we do not owe them. So let me clear the biggest myth up front. Forgiveness is not saying it was okay. What they did still happened. It was still wrong. Nobody is asking you to pretend the wound was a scratch. It is not reconciling either. You do not have to invite them back to Thanksgiving. You do not have to answer the calls or trust them again. You can forgive someone and still keep the door shut. Those are two different keys. And it is not letting them win. That is the one that snagged me for years. I thought forgiving meant they got away with it, that I was surrendering the case. But nobody was keeping score anymore, except me. Here is what it actually is. Forgiveness is setting down a weight that only you were ever carrying, not for them, for your own back, for the arm that got tired holding all of that up. They never picked it up. You did. You have been holding it so long your hands forgot they had a choice. And the day you notice that, forgiveness stops being a favor to them. It becomes the kindest thing you can do for yourself. So if the weight is yours to drop, here is the part nobody warns you about. You keep waiting for the one thing that would make dropping it easy. The apology. Moment they finally admit it. You have rehearsed it, what they would say, how you would nod, gracious, finally free, and every birthday, every holiday, you check the mail of your own heart to see if it came. It never does. Here is the hard truth I had to swallow. Some people are simply not built to say they are sorry, not because you do not deserve it, because looking at what they did would cost them more than they can pay. And here is the thing that finally set me loose. Your piece is sitting in a locked box, and you handed them the only key. A person who may be gone, may not care, may not even remember. That is a terrible place to keep something so precious. So one afternoon I stopped waiting, not with anger, almost with a shrug. I decided my calm no longer needed their signature. The apology could come or not. My mornings were not going to hold their breath for it anymore. You do not need them to change. That is the freedom. You are not waiting on someone who is never coming. You are taking your piece off their desk and putting it back where it belongs. In your own hands. But maybe you have been waiting for me to say the harder thing. Because some of what was done to you was not a slight. It was not a misunderstanding at a wedding. It was real damage, and no clean word covers it. There is a kind of harm that does not belong in the same sentence as forgive and move on. The parent who should have kept you safe and did not. The person who broke something in you that took decades to name. So let me be plain. I am not asking you to hand that a pardon. I am not asking you to call it small, or to pretend the years it cost you did not happen. They did. You were right to feel it. For these, letting go is slower, and it looks different. It is not one clean decision on a quiet morning. It is a door you close a little at a time, and some days you find it open again, and you close it again. That is allowed. And here is the mercy in it. Release was never about excusing them. It is the weight, remember, that you alone are carrying. That still applies here. You can hold the truth of what was done and still set down the daily ache of it. Sometimes that takes help, someone across a quiet office who does this for a living. There is no shame in that. The point is not to force a feeling you do not have. It is to stop the old harm from getting a second turn at your life. So how do you set down a weight that heavy without pretending it was ever light? I can only tell you what worked for me, offered as one friend to another, not a program. It started with a pen. I wrote the letter I was never going to send. Every unfair thing I never got to say. Right there on the page. No editing for kindness, and nobody would ever read it but me. Then I did the strange part. I read it out loud to the empty room. Hearing my own voice say it, the thing lost some of its power. Somehow it was smaller out in the air than it had been locked in my chest. You keep a ledger, you know. All of us do. Every slight tallied, the interest compounding for years. I finally decided to close the account. Not because the debt was paid, because I was tired of being the only bookkeeper. There was one sentence that did more than any of it. I said, out loud, I am done carrying this. 6 words. I felt a little silly. I also felt about 10 pounds lighter walking to the car. It did not all lift at once. It never does. So I made it small. When his name came up, I let my shoulders drop instead of tensing. One name at a time. One dinner I chose to attend anyway. None of this was one grand gesture. It was setting a heavy bag down, picking it back up, then setting it down again. Until one day I forgot to pick it up. That is how these small acts add up. So you set it down. Maybe just once, maybe quietly, maybe you are not even sure it took. And then something odd happens a few days later. You notice you feel lighter, and you cannot quite say why. Their name comes up at dinner, somebody mentions them the way people do. And you wait for the tightness in your chest, the old clench. It does not come. You just keep passing the potatoes. That is the first thing you notice. Guarding a wound takes attention. You never see the bill, but you pay it constantly. A corner of your mind always posted at that door. On watch. Let it go, and that guard walks off his shift. Suddenly you have that attention back. And you would be amazed what comes flooding back into that space. The book you actually finish. The grandkid story you actually hear all the way through. A whole ordinary afternoon that belongs to you again, not to someone who wronged you in 1990-something. A room feels different when you are not carrying anything into it. Lighter, yours. You walk in as just a person again, not as the wronged party, not as the one keeping score. Just you, arms free, ready for whatever the day actually holds. And once you feel how much room comes back, you start to notice something you would rather not admit. The list is not fixed. Left alone, it grows. One more name, one more slight, one more thing you decide not to forgive. Here is what I finally know. You will not clear the whole list. Some of it is welded on, and that is honest. But you do not have to carry all of it into the years you have left. You get to choose one. So pick the one that costs you the most. Not the biggest wrong. The one whose name still tightens your chest at a dinner table. The one that keeps a door shut in your own house. That is the one worth setting down first. Because the clock does not slow down for our grievances. The people we resent get older on the same schedule we do. And one day the choice gets taken from you. And all you are left with is the weight, and no one to hand it back to. I waited too long on more than one. I know the taste of that, but the ones I set down while there was still time, Those gave me the years back. Set one down now. Not for them, for the person who has to keep carrying it. If any of this resonated, tell me in the comments which grudge you are finally ready to set down, or what you would add from your own life. And if you want to keep working through this getting older business together, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.